Rich woman lashes out her cleaner for being late to work. But her own daughter taught her a lesson that she will never forget. In this gripping and emotional tale, Olivia, a successful businesswoman, lashes out at her loyal cleaner, Mama Philomena, for being late. Her anger is so fierce that she forces the woman to kneel on the cold floor, humiliating her in front of everyone. But little does Olivia know, her 12-year-old daughter, Rosina, has witnessed the entire scene. What follows is a shocking turn of events as Rosina decides to teach her mother a lesson she'll never forget. Watch the full video to discover. If this is your first time here on our channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our amazing stories. Now let's jump into the full story. Mama Philomena, a 56-year-old black woman, had worked for Olivia for years. She had always prided herself on her punctuality and dedication. But today, things were different. A sudden family emergency the night before it kept her awake, and despite her best efforts, she couldn't get to work on time. It wasn't like her, but Mama Philomena could only hope that Olivia, a 45-year-old successful businesswoman, would understand. As she hurried through the mansion's front door, she could feel the heavy weight of the situation pressing on her. She had worked in this house for years, cleaning, cooking, and looking after Olivia's needs, but she had never been late before. This morning, though, there had been no choice. "Philomena, you're late again." Olivia's voice rang out from the kitchen, harsh and sharp. The annoyance was unmistakable. Mama Philomena took a deep breath and apologized, explaining that her daughter had been in an accident and that she had spent the night at the hospital. She hoped Olivia would understand. After all, family emergencies were sometimes unavoidable. But Olivia didn't seem interested in hearing her side of the story. "You've been working here long enough to know better," Olivia snapped, her eyes narrowing. "If you can't keep your priorities straight, maybe you don't belong here." The words stung. Mama Philomena stood there, feeling the sting of her employer's harsh words, but she didn't argue. She knew better than to challenge Olivia's authority. She had seen it before, the way Olivia expected perfection from everyone around her. But today was different. The pain in her chest, the exhaustion from the long night, made it harder to hold her head high. Still, she swallowed her pride and simply nodded. "I'll make up for the lost time, Olivia," she said quietly, trying to sound calm despite the turmoil inside. Olivia turned on her heel without a word. "Get to work." Mama Philomena stood for a moment, collecting herself. As she started toward the kitchen to begin her tasks, she couldn't shake the feeling that today was the start of something new, a moment that would change everything. By lunchtime, the tension in the house had only thickened. Olivia had grown increasingly irritable as the day wore on. The smallest mistakes set her off, and Mama Philomena could feel the weight of every critical glance, every demand. She had always been a reliable cleaner, someone Olivia could count on, but now it felt like she could do nothing right. It wasn't just the late arrival. Olivia seemed to be looking for any excuse to lash out. At one point, after Mama Philomena had missed a spot while sweeping the kitchen floor, Olivia's voice cut through the air like a knife. "Didn't I tell you to be more thorough? You're making me lose patience," Olivia sneered, glaring at Mama Philomena. Her face was set in a tight frown, her eyes cold. Mama Philomena took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. "I'm sorry, Olivia. I'll do it again," she murmured. But Olivia wasn't listening. She stormed over to the dining room table, her anger building. "You're lazy, unreliable. I can't stand working with people who don't respect my time." Mama Philomena felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She had heard Olivia speak this way before, but today it felt harsher. The words were like arrows aimed directly at her dignity, and she could feel them cutting deep. But just when she thought it couldn't get any worse, Olivia's voice rang out once more. "Kneel." Now, as Mama Philomena was trying to apologize to her one more, Olivia's anger reached its peak, and she lashes out Mama Philomena. Mama Philomena's heart dropped. She had never been humiliated like this before. Kneel? She had worked for Olivia for over a decade, and this was the first time she had ever been ordered to do something so degrading. "I'm sorry, Olivia. Please," Mama Philomena began, her voice breaking. "Now," Olivia commanded, her voice cold as ice. And so, with a heavy heart and tears welling in her eyes, Mama Philomena sank to her knees. She couldn't understand why Olivia was treating her this way. She had always been loyal, always done her best. Yet here she was on her knees in front of her employer, a woman she had respected and cared for over the years. As Mama Philomena knelt there, her mind was a whirlwind of confusion and hurt. How had things come to this? What had she done to deserve such punishment? Unbeknownst to Olivia, though, her daughter, Rosina, had been watching from the top of the stairs. Hidden behind the banister, Rosina's heart was heavy with shock. She had seen her mother treat employees harshly before, but never like this. This was different. Her mother's cruelty made her stomach turn. That night, Rosina lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Her thoughts kept drifting back to the scene earlier that day. Mama Philomena, kneeling on the cold floor, her face a mixture of humiliation and pain. She couldn't stop thinking about it. She had known for a while that her mother could be demanding, but this felt like something much darker. Rosina had seen her mother dismiss people before, employees, friends, even family, but never like this. Mama Philomena wasn't just any employee. She had been with the family for years, and yet Olivia had treated her like a nobody. Rosina was troubled, confused, and deeply disturbed by the events of the day. Why had her mother done that? Why had she humiliated someone who had been so loyal to their family? Wasn't it enough to be demanding without resorting to punishment? And why, of all things, did Olivia have to humiliate Mama Philomena in front of the rest of the household? The questions swirled in Rosina's mind, but no answers came. She could hear her mother downstairs, still working, still angry. But Rosina was no longer angry. She was heartbroken. It wasn't just that Mama Philomena had been treated unfairly. It was that her mother, the woman she had looked up to all her life, had let power and control blind her to the simple human decency that should have been at the heart of everything she did. At that moment, Rosina made a decision. She wasn't going to let this go. Something needed to change. And if she was the one to make that change, then so be it. The next morning, Rosina waited until Olivia was alone in her office before making her move. She had rehearsed what she wanted to say, but now, standing at the door, all her nerves came flooding to the surface. She knocked gently before entering. Olivia looked up from her desk, a tired expression on her face. "What is it, Rosina?" she asked, clearly irritated by the interruption. Rosina took a deep breath, feeling her heart race. "Mom, we need to talk." Olivia's eyebrows furrowed. "About what?" "It's about Mama Philomena," Rosina said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Why did you treat her like that yesterday? Why did you make her kneel?" Olivia's face hardened, and she leaned back in her chair. She was late. People need to be taught discipline. Rosina shook her head. "That's not the point, Mom. You humiliated her. You've never treated her like that before." Olivia's eyes flickered with annoyance, but Rosina pressed on. "You can't treat people like that just because you have the power. Mama Philomena has always been loyal to us, and you just—" "Enough!" Olivia shouted, slamming her hand on the desk. "You don't understand, Rosina. This is how the world works. People like her need to know their place." Rosina felt a surge of frustration rising in her chest. "No, Mom. You need to understand that everyone deserves respect, regardless of their job. People are not their status or position." The room fell silent. Olivia stared at her daughter, her gaze cold but unreadable. Rosina wasn't sure what would happen next, but she knew that the conversation had just begun. Later that afternoon, Olivia sat alone in her office, rethinking her daughter's words. She wasn't used to being challenged, especially by her own child. Rosina had always been quiet and obedient, but now something in her had shifted. Olivia felt unsettled. Could she be wrong? As Olivia brooded, Rosina was in her room, talking to her best friend, Clara. Clara listened quietly as Rosina recounted the events of the past few days, her heart aching for Mama Philomena and feeling guilty for not stepping in sooner. "You have to do something, Rosina," Clara urged. "It's not just about Mama Philomena. It's about your mom seeing how hurtful her actions can be." Rosina nodded slowly. She wasn't sure what she could do, but she couldn't sit back and let her mother continue down this path. Olivia was stubborn, but Rosina believed there was a chance, however small. that she could make her mother see the error of her ways. That night, Rosina stayed up late, quietly planning her next move. She knew she had to act fast, before Olivia's pride made things even worse. The following day, Rosina spent much of her time observing her mother from a distance, trying to figure out how she could help her see the gravity of her actions. It wasn't just about standing up to Olivia. It was about making her understand the emotional damage she had caused Mama Philomena. Olivia had always been a force in their household, and her sense of power and control had shaped the way she ran her life. But Rosina couldn't ignore the pain she had witnessed in Mama Philomena's eyes. Rosina knew she needed to take action. But how? Olivia's stubbornness made it hard to reason with her directly. She had tried to talk to her mother, but Olivia had dismissed her concerns. There had to be another way to make her mother understand the consequences of her actions. The idea hit Rosina as she sat in her room, scrolling through her phone. She had been so careful not to disturb the moment of Mama Philomena's punishment. But what if she could show her mother just how humiliating the entire experience had been? What if Olivia could see, firsthand, how cruel her actions looked from the outside? Rosina quickly got to work, going back through the footage on her phone. She had secretly recorded the moment when Olivia had ordered Mama Philomena to kneel. The video wasn't long, just a few minutes, but it captured the rawness of the situation. Mama Philomena's body language spoke volumes, her shoulders hunched in submission, her face a mixture of sorrow and confusion. Rosina knew this was risky. She had no idea how Olivia would react if she found out she had recorded the incident. But deep down, she believed it was the only way to make her mother realize what she had done. Later that evening, as Olivia sat alone in her study, Rosina decided to confront her. With the video ready to go, she knocked softly on the door. "What is it now, Rosina?" Olivia asked, looking up from her paperwork. Rosina didn't hesitate. "I need you to see something, Mom." She walked in and held up her phone, playing the video in silence. Olivia watched the scene unfold, her face hardening as she saw herself ordering Mama Philomena to kneel. The raw emotion on Mama Philomena's face was impossible to ignore. When the video ended, Olivia said nothing. She just stared at her daughter, her mouth slightly ajar, unable to find the words to explain herself. The silence between them was deafening. Olivia's mind was racing as she processed the video. Seeing her own actions from another perspective made her stomach churn. The shock on Mama Philomena's face, the pain in her eyes. It was like a mirror reflecting everything that was wrong with the way she had treated her employee. Rosina watched her mother carefully, waiting for some kind of reaction. She had never seen Olivia look so vulnerable, so unsure of herself. Normally, Olivia was confident, assertive, and unapologetic. But now, as she sat there staring at the screen, she was visibly shaken. Olivia finally broke the silence, her voice soft and uncertain. I didn't realize how it looked, Rosina. I thought I was teaching her a lesson." "Mom," Rosina said, her voice quiet but firm. "People aren't lessons to be taught. They're human beings just like us. Mama Philomena has worked for us for years. She didn't deserve that. No one does." Olivia's shoulders slumped as the weight of her actions sank in. She had always prided herself on being a tough businesswoman, someone who commanded respect. But at what cost? The look in Mama Philomena's eyes, the way she had been humiliated in front of others. It was a wake-up call for Olivia. She had been so consumed by power and control that she had lost sight of what truly mattered: respect, kindness, and empathy. Rosina's words echoed in Olivia's mind. People are not their status or position. Olivia had never truly understood the depth of those words until now. She had treated Mama Philomena as though she were nothing more than an employee, someone beneath her. But that wasn't who Mama Philomena was. She was a person with a family, with struggles, with dreams. And Olivia had taken all of that away in one cruel, thoughtless moment. Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes as she looked at her daughter, the girl who had taught her this invaluable lesson. "I've failed you, Rosina," Olivia whispered. "I've failed Mama Philomena." Rosina shook her head. "No, Mom. You can still fix this. It's never too late to make things right." Olivia knew her daughter was right. She had made a mistake, a big one. But it wasn't too late to change. She could apologize. She could show Mama Philomena the respect she deserved. And maybe for the first time in a long while, Olivia began to realize that humility was a strength, not a weakness. The next morning, Olivia stood in front of the mirror, staring at her reflection. Her mind was heavy with guilt. She had spent the entire night thinking about what had happened, about how she had treated Mama Philomena, and about the impact it had on her employee, a woman who had been nothing but loyal for so many years. How could she have let her anger cloud her judgment? Her thoughts were interrupted when Rosina walked into the room. "Mom," she said quietly, "you've got to go and apologize. It's the right thing to do." Olivia nodded, though she felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She had always prided herself on her strength, her ability to control situations. But apologizing, admitting she was wrong, it was hard. She wasn't used to showing vulnerability, especially not to someone who worked for her. But as she thought about the harshness of her actions, she knew that if she didn't make it right, the damage would be irreversible. With a deep breath, Olivia left her room and made her way to the kitchen, where Mama Philomena was already at work. The cleaner was busy, as usual, wiping down the counters and preparing the breakfast dishes. She looked up when Olivia entered, her expression neutral. Olivia couldn't help but notice the slight tension in the older woman's shoulders, a quiet sign that the events of the previous day still lingered. "Mama Philomena," Olivia began, her voice trembling slightly, "I need to speak with you." The older woman paused, her eyes flickering with caution. "Yes, Olivia? I'm sorry," Olivia said, the words heavy but sincere. "I treated you terribly yesterday, and I shouldn't have. You've worked for me for so long, and I've always valued your hard work. But I let my anger take over, and I humiliated you. That was wrong, and I deeply regret it." Mama Philomena stood frozen for a moment, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. The apology was unexpected, and Olivia's tone was different, softer, more genuine. Finally, she nodded, her eyes glistening with emotion. "Thank you, Olivia," she said quietly. "I didn't expect that from you, but I'm grateful." Olivia felt a wave of relief wash over her. It wasn't easy to apologize, but hearing Mama Philomena's words made it worth it. Still, Olivia knew this was just the beginning. She had to prove through her actions that this wasn't a one-time thing, that she truly understood the importance of respect, humility, and kindness. As Mama Philomena returned to her work, Olivia lingered in the doorway, watching her. The air between them felt lighter now, but Olivia knew that earning back Mama Philomena's full trust would take time. It would take consistent effort, not just empty words. The days that followed were quieter, but Olivia could sense a shift in the atmosphere. She had begun to treat her staff differently, more thoughtfully. Where she had once been dismissive of their needs and feelings, she now found herself making small efforts to show them respect. She made sure to thank Mama Philomena for her work each day, even for the smallest tasks, and Olivia found herself feeling strangely lighter in her interactions with her staff. It wasn't just Mama Philomena who had noticed the change. Olivia's other employees also seemed to respond positively, as if they could feel the sincerity in her actions. There was no longer a tension in the air, no sense of walking on eggshells around her. Instead, they all seemed to be working together in a more harmonious environment. Even Rosina noticed the change in her mother. Olivia had always been a bit of a perfectionist, but now she seemed less focused on control and more interested in making sure that everyone felt valued. It was a subtle transformation, but it was there, and Rosina couldn't help but feel proud of her mother. One evening, as Olivia sat down with Rosina over dinner, she spoke softly, almost as if to herself. "I didn't realize how much I'd been overlooking, how much I had taken for granted. It's not just about being in charge. It's about being a good person, about treating others with kindness, no matter their role." Rosina smiled at her mother, proud of the progress she had made. "I'm glad you're seeing it, Mom. It's a good feeling, isn't it?" Olivia nodded. "It is. I didn't think I could change, but now I know I can." The weight that had once seemed so heavy on Olivia's shoulders was slowly lifting. She still had a long way to go, but for the first time in years, she felt like she was on the right path. She had learned something powerful, something that would shape the way she viewed her employees, her family, and herself for the rest of her life. It wasn't long before Olivia asked Mama Philomena to join her in the living room after work one evening. Olivia had been thinking about how she could make things right beyond just apologizing. She wanted to do something that would show Mama Philomena how much she truly valued her, something that would symbolize the shift in their relationship. Mama Philomena, I've been thinking, Olivia began, her voice steady but full of sincerity. You've been with this family for so long, and I've taken your hard work for granted. I want to make it up to you. Mama Philomena looked up, surprised but hopeful. What do you mean, Olivia? I'd like to offer you a paid vacation. You've been working so hard, and you deserve some time off. I want you to have a break, to relax and take care of yourself. You've earned it. Mama Philomena's eyes widened in disbelief. Olivia, I thank you. This means more than you know. Olivia smiled softly. It's the least I can do. As the days went by, Olivia continued to make small gestures to show her gratitude. She also made sure to include Mama Philomena in family events, inviting her to dinners and discussions, making her feel like a true part of the family. The respect that Olivia had once withheld was now being freely given, and as time passed, both Olivia and Mama Philomena began to heal from the pain of the past. The bond between them wasn't just that of employer and employee anymore. It was rooted in mutual respect, understanding, and shared humanity. Rosina watched all of this from the sidelines, feeling a deep sense of pride in her mother. She had always known that her mother was capable of great change. It just took someone willing to push her in the right direction. In the end, Olivia realized that true leadership wasn't about power or control. It was about lifting others up, about showing kindness even in the most difficult moments. And as she looked at Mama Philomena, she knew she had learned one of life's most important lessons. As the days passed, Olivia continued to reflect on how far she had come. She had always believed that authority meant control and that kindness was a weakness. But the events of the past few weeks had shattered that belief. Through Rosina's courage and Mama Philomena's quiet strength, Olivia had come to realize that respect and empathy could be the foundation of true leadership. It was a bright Saturday morning when Olivia decided to invite Mama Philomena to join her for a walk through the estate gardens. It had been a while since they'd spent any time together outside of the work environment, and Olivia felt it was time to further solidify their new bond. Would you like to join me for a walk, Mama Philomena? Olivia asked as she found the older woman preparing breakfast in the kitchen. Mama Philomena looked up, her face lighting up with surprise. She had never expected such an invitation from Olivia. Of course, Olivia, she replied warmly. I'd be happy to. As they strolled through the gardens, Olivia was struck by how much she had taken for granted. The flowers, the trees, the peacefulness of the surroundings. All of it had always been part of her world, but she had rarely stopped to appreciate it. Just like she had rarely stopped to appreciate the people around her. Mama Philomena, I've been thinking a lot lately, Olivia began, her voice softer than usual. I've realized how much I've overlooked. You've worked for me for years, and I've never truly taken the time to understand you. You're more than just an employee to me. You're part of this family. Mama Philomena smiled gently, her eyes reflecting years of experience. I know, Olivia. I've always known your heart was in the right place. It just took a while for you to see it. Olivia chuckled, feeling the weight of those words. I made a lot of mistakes, haven't I? We all do, Olivia. What matters is what we learn from them. Her words struck Olivia deeply. Mama Philomena wasn't just forgiving her. She was teaching her the very lessons that had taken Olivia so long to grasp. Lessons of humility, compassion, and the importance of seeing people for who they really were, not just as roles to be filled. Olivia felt a sense of gratitude welling up inside her. She had learned more from Mama Philomena in the past few weeks than she had in years of trying to control her world. I promise I'll be better, Mama Philomena, Olivia said sincerely. I'll show you that your worth has never been about what you can do for me, but about who you are as a person. Mama Philomena nodded. I believe you, Olivia. I truly do. As they continued walking, Olivia couldn't help but feel a sense of peace settle in her heart. She had made a new commitment, not just to her work, but to the people who made her life richer, fuller. And she was determined to live up to it. As the weeks went by, The changes in Olivia became more noticeable to everyone around her. The house, once filled with tension and unspoken expectations, now carried a new sense of calm. Olivia's interactions with her employees were more thoughtful, and the atmosphere in the household felt lighter. Her newfound humility wasn't just something she practiced in front of Mama Philomena. It was extending to everyone. She made a conscious effort to treat her staff with kindness, whether it was offering a few extra hours off or simply thanking them for their hard work. Her employees, who had always feared her sharp temper, began to smile more often, feeling appreciated and seen. Olivia's relationship with her daughter, Rosina, also began to shift. For the first time in a long while, Olivia was open to listening. She no longer dismissed Rosina's concerns or ideas but took them seriously. Rosina, in turn, felt closer to her mother, noticing the changes that were slowly but surely transforming the woman she had once seen as distant and unapproachable. One evening, after dinner, Rosina approached her mother with a thoughtful expression. "Mom, I've been thinking. I've noticed how much you've changed. You've been really kind to everyone lately, not just Mama Philomena. I'm proud of you." Olivia smiled, a genuine warmth in her eyes. "Thank you, sweetheart. I've been trying to be better. It's been a lot of hard work, but I've learned so much from Mama Philomena. From you?" Rosina raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "From me?" Olivia nodded. "Yes. You were the one who opened my eyes to how much I was missing. You made me realize that leadership isn't just about authority or control. It's about empathy and understanding." Rosina's heart swelled with pride. It was rare to hear her mother speak so openly, especially about her own vulnerabilities. "I'm glad I could help. You've always been a strong woman, Mom. I just wanted you to see the power of kindness." Olivia chuckled softly. "I see it now, more clearly than ever. And I'm going to keep learning." The next day, Olivia took another step towards solidifying her new outlook on life. She decided to host a small gathering for her employees, inviting them to a casual dinner at the house. It wasn't about business. It was about appreciation. She wanted to show her staff that they were valued as individuals, not just as workers. Mama Philomena was among the first to arrive. When she saw the setup, with a warm spread of food on the table, she couldn't help but smile. Olivia's efforts were obvious, and for the first time, Mama Philomena felt like more than just an employee. She felt like part of a family. The dinner was simple, but heartfelt. Olivia had worked alongside her staff to prepare the meal, something she had never done before. Normally, she would have stayed in the background, delegating everything. But tonight was different. She was in the kitchen with her staff, laughing and joking, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of connection with the people she had once seen as just employees. As they gathered around the table, Olivia took a moment to look around at the faces of the people she had come to rely on over the years. There was Mama Philomena, of course, who had become an integral part of the household. But there was also Jeremy, the gardener, and Anita, the housekeeper. Each person had their own story, their own struggles and triumphs. But tonight, they were all together as equals, enjoying a meal. Olivia stood and raised her glass, her heart full. "I just want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you. You've all been a part of this family, and I've learned that what makes a home isn't just the walls or the furniture. It's the people in it." Mama Philomena smiled, her eyes glistening with emotion. "Thank you, Olivia. That means more than you know." The room was filled with murmurs of agreement, and for the first time, Olivia felt truly connected to the people who had supported her for so long. She had always taken them for granted, seeing them only as part of the infrastructure of her life. But now, she saw them as people with their own dignity and worth. They were her partners, not her subordinates. As the evening wore on, the conversation became more relaxed, and Olivia found herself laughing freely with her staff. It wasn't just about work. It was about friendship, respect, and mutual understanding. By the end of the night, as the last of the dishes were cleared away and everyone said their goodbyes, Olivia felt a deep sense of peace. She had taken a step toward healing the wounds of the past, not just with Mama Philomena, but with herself. For the first time, she felt like she was truly living her values, not just in front of others, but within her own heart. As the weeks continued to unfold, Olivia found herself changing in ways she had never anticipated. The dinner had been a turning point, not just for her relationship with her staff, but also for her own sense of fulfillment. She had always been so focused on business success, controlling every aspect of her life, that she had failed to recognize the richness of the relationships that could be built through respect and kindness. One afternoon, Olivia was sitting at her desk, reviewing financial reports when she received a call from her former business partner, Gregory. He had been someone she trusted, but over the years, their partnership had grown strained due to differing priorities. Olivia had stepped away from some of their shared ventures, preferring to focus on her personal life and her household. "Olivia," Gregory said, his voice sharp and professional, "I've been keeping an eye on things, and I wanted to talk to you about an opportunity. A new investment is coming up, and I think it could benefit you." Olivia hesitated. The thought of returning to the corporate world, where control and power were the driving forces, felt uncomfortable now. She had spent so many years tied up in the chase for more wealth, more success, that she wasn't sure she wanted to go back to it. "I appreciate the offer, Gregory," Olivia replied, her voice cautious. "But I've been focusing on other things lately. I've learned some valuable lessons about leadership and what really matters. I'm not sure if I'm interested in jumping back into that world right now." Gregory's tone shifted, a hint of disbelief in his voice. "Are you sure? You've always been one to seize every opportunity. This is a chance for significant returns, Olivia. You've always wanted to be at the top." Olivia felt a wave of doubt wash over her. Had she truly changed, or was this just a temporary shift in perspective? As she hung up the phone, her mind raced. The business world had always been about power and competition, but she now understood that there were other paths to fulfillment. She realized that she no longer craved the constant pressure to succeed at the expense of personal connections and well-being. Her thoughts turned to Mama Philomena, Rosina, and the changes she had made in her own life. They were the ones who had opened her eyes. The world of constant ambition no longer held the same appeal. Olivia smiled to herself, knowing that she was on a new journey, one that didn't need to be defined by wealth or status. The call from Gregory lingered in Olivia's mind for days. She found herself returning to the same question. What did success truly mean now? The allure of high-powered deals and corporate recognition had lost its grip on her. She had spent so many years climbing that ladder, only to realize that it was leaning against the wrong wall. One morning, as Olivia sat in the garden, sipping her coffee, Rosina came outside, looking thoughtful. "Mom," Rosina said, sitting beside her, "I've been thinking about your future. I know you've been trying to figure things out, but I want you to know something. Whatever path you choose, I'll always support you. I just want you to be happy." Olivia looked at her daughter, her heart swelling with gratitude. Rosina had always been her rock, but in these recent weeks, Rosina had become her guide. Her words carried a weight that was impossible to ignore. It wasn't about the money or the fame. It was about finding something that truly brought Olivia peace. "I've been offered a new business opportunity, Rosina," Olivia said slowly. "But I'm not sure if it's what I want anymore." Rosina nodded, understanding. "I think you've already found your purpose, Mom. It's right here with us, with your staff. You've always been so focused on what's next, but maybe it's time to focus on the people who matter most." Olivia smiled, her heart finally at ease. For the first time, she understood that her happiness didn't lie in the corporate world. It wasn't about the accolades or the constant climb. It was about connection, respect, and building a life that was rooted in love and understanding. Over the next few weeks, Olivia made the decision to step away from the offer Gregory had extended. She didn't need to be at the top of the corporate world anymore. She had already found her way to the top in her own home, with the people who had always mattered. She began to explore new ventures, ones that aligned with her values. She started a mentorship program for young women, helping them navigate the business world with a focus on integrity and empathy. It felt fulfilling in a way that her previous career never had. She realized that true success wasn't about how much wealth or recognition you could amass, but about how you used your resources to lift others up. Olivia had found her new purpose. And this time, it wasn't about achieving more, it was about being more. As Olivia embarked on this new chapter of her life, She found herself rediscovering a sense of purpose she had long ago forgotten. The mentorship program she had started began to take shape, and she was excited about the potential it held. She wasn't focused on making millions anymore. She was focused on making a difference in the lives of young women who needed guidance, who needed someone to show them that success didn't have to come at the expense of their humanity. Her first group of men's was diverse, a mix of ambitious, driven young women from all backgrounds, each with their own dreams and challenges. Olivia felt a sense of responsibility to them, but also a deep sense of gratitude for the opportunity to help them build careers based on integrity, empathy, and respect. One afternoon, as Olivia sat in her office with the women, listening to their stories, a familiar voice interrupted her thoughts. Mama Philomena had come by to deliver some paperwork. "Olivia," she said with a warm smile, "I just wanted to check in on how you're doing." Olivia smiled back, her heart full. "I'm doing better, Mama Philomena. I found a new purpose, and I'm actually happy." The older woman's eyes softened. "You've always had it in you, Olivia. You just needed to see it for yourself." Olivia nodded, feeling a wave of gratitude toward Mama Philomena. The lessons she had learned about humility, empathy, and the power of kindness had transformed not just her career but her entire life. The journey wasn't over yet, but Olivia knew she was finally on the right path. She had found a way to lead not through power, but through compassion, and that was something she would carry with her for the rest of her life. As Olivia's mentorship program gained momentum, she noticed something beautiful unfolding beyond her expectations. Her former employees, including Mama Philomena, began to see her differently. They had always known her as the stern, distant boss, but now they saw the softer side of Olivia, someone who genuinely cared about the well-being of others. Mama Philomena, in particular, seemed to feel a renewed sense of respect and appreciation. One afternoon, as Olivia prepared for another session with her mentor, Mama Philomena approached her with a thoughtful expression. "Olivia," she said, "I've been watching you closely these past few months. You've changed so much, and I'm proud of you." Olivia smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you, Mama Philomena. You've been a huge part of that change." Mama Philomena shook her head gently. "No, child. You made the change. You opened your heart to others. You chose kindness. And now I see you leading in a way that others will follow." Olivia felt a rush of emotion, the kind of feeling that came with true gratitude. It wasn't just the success of her program or the recognition she was beginning to receive. It was the deep connection she had started to build with people, real, honest relationships grounded in mutual respect. As time passed, more people in Olivia's circle began to follow her lead. Her men started paying it forward, showing kindness and respect to their peers and colleagues. Her staff, once hesitant and wary, were now more confident, knowing that they were valued as more than just employees. They were part of a community, a family, that Olivia had helped create. In her journey to change herself, Olivia had unknowingly sparked a ripple effect, a movement of kindness and understanding that would continue to spread long after she was gone. And that, Olivia realized, was her true legacy. As Olivia's transformation deepened, so did the challenges that came with it. Her new path, though fulfilling, was not without its obstacles. While she had gained the respect and admiration of her staff and mentors, there were still moments of doubt. There were still people from her past who viewed her softer approach as a sign of weakness. One day, she received an email from one of her former business associates, someone who had always been part of her high-powered network. The subject line read, "Opportunity knocks again." Olivia hesitated before opening it, knowing that the tone of the message would likely be familiar, a call to return to the corporate world, to reclaim her position at the top of the ladder. The email outlined a lucrative deal that promised significant returns, but as Olivia read through the details, a wave of discomfort washed over her. It wasn't that the deal didn't sound appealing. It did, but something inside her had changed. The allure of power and wealth, once irresistible, now felt empty in comparison to the work she was doing with her mentors and her staff. Rosina, sensing her mother's inner turmoil, sat down with Olivia later that evening. "Mom, I saw the email. You don't have to go back to that world. You've built something real here, something that actually matters? Olivia smiled at her daughter, grateful for her wisdom. I know, Rosina. I feel torn sometimes. It's hard to let go of what I used to want. Rosina placed a hand on her mother's. The world you've created now is bigger than any business deal. Don't let anyone make you forget that. Olivia nodded, feeling more grounded than ever. She had learned that the true challenge wasn't in choosing what seemed easiest. It was in staying true to the person she had become. As Olivia navigated the crossroads of her past ambitions and present fulfillment, she realized the most important decision she could make was not about what she did, but how she did it. Her transformation had never been about abandoning everything she once believed in, but rather reimagining how she could use her power to build something meaningful, not just for herself, but for others. Her mentorship program was thriving, and the young women she mentored had become her extended family. She saw them grow not just professionally, but personally. They were beginning to follow in her footsteps, learning to lead with empathy and understanding. But Olivia knew the true test was yet to come. She had built a strong foundation, but it would take time, patience, and perseverance to create lasting change. One afternoon, as she sat in a meeting with her mentor, one of the young women, Tasha, shared her story. Tasha had been struggling with self-doubt, unsure of her ability to balance ambition and kindness in a world that often rewarded the opposite. I'm scared I'll never be taken seriously, Tasha admitted, her voice trembling. Everyone says I have to be tough, cutthroat to succeed, but I don't want to lose who I am. Olivia smiled, her heart swelling with pride. Tasha, I was once in your shoes. I thought I had to be tough, to prove myself by being hard. But the truth is, true strength comes from lifting others, not from pushing them down. You can lead with compassion, and that will make you stronger than you can imagine. The room fell silent for a moment, the weight of Olivia's words sinking in. Tasha's eyes glistened with newfound hope. Olivia's work had always been about achieving goals, but now it was about achieving a collective dream. She had learned that strength was found not just in individual success, but in the strength of a supportive community that lifted one another up. As the years passed, Olivia's journey continued to unfold, each chapter deeper than the last. She had come to understand that her legacy was not to be measured by the wealth she had accumulated or the deals she had closed. Instead, it was in the relationships she had built, the lives she had touched, and the way she had chosen to lead, through empathy, humility, and kindness. Her mentorship program had blossomed into something Olivia had never imagined. What began as a small, personal initiative had grown into a flourishing community of young women who were learning not only the technical skills they needed for success, but also the emotional intelligence to lead with integrity. They carried with them the lessons Olivia had imparted, passing them on to others as they moved forward in their careers. Mama Philomena, once a humble cleaner, had become a trusted advisor, helping Olivia with the logistics of the program and offering wisdom that only time and experience could bring. It wasn't just about teaching business practices. It was about showing these young women how to navigate the world with grace, dignity, and a deep respect for others. Olivia had taught them that true leadership didn't come from controlling others. It came from empowering them to be their best selves. One evening, as Olivia sat in her office, reflecting on all that had changed, Rosina joined her, now a young woman herself, full of promise. Rosina had become her mother's biggest supporter, not only in her professional life, but in her personal growth. The bond between them had strengthened over the years, and Olivia felt incredibly grateful for the daughter who had been her first teacher. "Mom," Rosina said, "I'm so proud of you. I see how far you've come, and I know the work you've done is changing the world." Olivia smiled, a soft, genuine smile. "It's changing us, Rosina. It's changing how we see ourselves and each other." Olivia's heart swelled with pride as she realized the truth of those words. She had built something far more valuable than any business venture. She had built a legacy of compassion, leadership, and mutual respect. It was a legacy that would continue long after she was gone, passed down through the generations of women who had learned from her example. She had created a ripple effect that had already touched so many lives, and she knew that it would keep spreading. And as she looked out at the future, at the world her daughter and her mentor would build, Olivia knew that this was the greatest success she could ever achieve. The world had changed her, but in turn, she had changed the world. And that was the greatest gift of all. The story of Olivia, of her mistakes, her growth, and her ultimate redemption, had come full circle. It wasn't about becoming the person she had always thought she should be. It was about discovering the person she was meant to be all along. And she was finally at peace, knowing that she had found the strength, the purpose, and the heart to lead with love.